broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, hello. Sorry for the delay. I am so happy to be on today to present to you week 5 of the 2020 WebCenter Olympics. There's been so many things happening in the world today, and I know it's been a challenge for many people, but we have an incredible opportunity for WebCenter owners to really go out and make a difference in the small to medium-sized businesses in their local community. You know, up to this point, we have discussed how to create a candidate list. We've talked about how to do some current research. We've then gone on and given some tips on how to contact those candidates and schedule a consultation appointment. We talked about how to have a qualified appointment with sales support, and then we talked about attending that appointment to make sure that we have a qualified appointment that results in a sale. So we're going to take you through how to become the best account manager and how to really help onboard your client with a WebCenter product. But we're also going to talk about one of the most important things is follow-up. And we've all heard the fortune is in the follow-up. So let's fast forward. You know, you're a WebCenter owner and have an entire dedicated team to help you handle not only sales, but also design, technical support, and billing. So at every part of the process, it's your role as a WebCenter owner to simply connect people. And it's very important to make sure that you are clear about your role to yourself and with your clients. And that way everyone knows exactly what to expect from each other. I've had many times people are unsure of what their role is, so we're going to define that today. Now, one of the most incredible emails that we receive as a WebCenter owner is one that states, "Congratulations, you made a sale." And we love to see that. It shows you the sales amount. You know that you're going to have 200 plus BV generated into your organization. And of course, that retail profit will be in a commission coming to your bank account soon. But once you've made that sale, now what? Now the work begins. The work begins as you have started the process, developing that relationship, and then you've done a great job consulting, and then you started working with a sales team to do a product demonstration and answer questions. But now it's your job to become an account manager or customer manager. So here are some quick tips. One of the most important things that you need to do ongoing at the length of this relationship with this client is to call and check in, email them, stay in touch. Don't just have a sale and then leave it to the WebCenter team to do all the work and then you go missing, right? You still have the relationship with the client. So you want to make sure that you stay in contact with them. Now, one of the first things that you want to make sure that you do is, if you've sold a design package, is to conduct the design wizard with them. If they purchased a design package, they're going to get an automated email welcoming them and saying, "Congratulations on your design package. Click here to begin." And it's going to bring them to their WebCenter dashboard where they're going to log in and start the design wizard. Now, to be honest, most clients aren't going to take it upon themselves to go through this entire wizard, and they might need a little hand-holding. And that's where you come in, right? You know the questions to ask and have that support to be able to provide the right information to the project manager at the design team. Now, this is a time where you want to schedule time to go over and visit with your client or your candidate for the design package and review some information, gather some content. What images would they like on their site? What videos, if any, would they like on their site? Are there any websites that they like the look and feel? Are there websites that they don't like the look and feel? Are there certain fonts that they want to use? Is there a certain language that they want? Is there certain content in placement that they want? What is the color scheme? Are they looking for a bold header? Are they looking for a slideshow header? Are they looking for information in the footer? And all of this is within the design wizard, but you're going to want to help gather some of this information with your client. From here, they're going to submit that over to the design team, and a project manager will be assigned, and they're going to look at that information and then reach out to that client to see if there's any additional information or to welcome them to the process. Then what happens is that's going to be turned over to a design team member that is going to create a mock-up and then produce that back over to the client for review. It's then a back and forth between the project manager and the client to make any revisions or updates that then gets presented back to the design team to make the corrections. And then once a final approval is made by the client, then the site gets built and then gets launched live, and then they can schedule a 30-minute tutorial on how to use the platform to further edit their site as they need. So it's important to have all of these follow-ups scheduled in your calendar as meetings or appointments with your client, and making sure that you are staying in close communication with your client and the project manager. It is so important because many times things slip through the cracks because the design team and the project manager doesn't have the relationship with your client. You do. So they're getting emails or getting phone calls, and they might just be letting it go to voicemail. They might not be looking or opening up the emails. And then time is going by where they're expecting work to be done on their site, and maybe nothing's happening because the design team and project managers are trying to reach out to your client and they're having a difficult time. In that case, you want to make sure that you are in contact with both sides of the equation. You want to be working with the project manager as well as the client to make sure that everyone is in clear communication. Once the project gets launched, be sure you schedule that tutorial and an overview of their dashboard with the tech support team, right? Help promote their site when it goes live. Nothing better than you helping promote their business and market their business across your network. Maybe on your social media channels, maybe on your email newsletters. If you have a website or a social media page, you can also recognize that you've got a new client that you've just launched. Support their site when it goes live, edify tech support so that you know that they can contact tech support when they have any questions, even though their first inclination might be to contact you. And if at all possible, send them leads and referrals if it's appropriate, right? So if you can go out in the marketplace in your community and identify potential referrals for them, it's going to strengthen that bond and that relationship. So web design is an important part of the website process. Obviously, if they're doing it themselves, make sure they know how to access tech support. And again, do the design wizard with them if they purchased a design package. Again, all packages can be purchased at the time of activation of a website or at any time in the future. So you want to make sure that you maintain those relationships because a client might want or need a redesign in the future. You know, it could be 12 months, it could be 18 months, it could be 2 years or 3 years. It's important to stay on top of that relationship because if you don't, they might be looking at other web developers and web providers if you haven't maintained that relationship. Again, it's a very seamless process in terms of the client purchasing the package and then getting reached out to from the design team and web centers. From there, they're going to gather the information and import it into the design wizard, and then it's an approval process back and forth between the client and the project manager. Now, it's very seamless when the clients are responsive and engaged in the process. And if there's any time that things kind of slip through the cracks or there is some miscommunication, it's almost always because one party was expecting or waiting for information from the other and the other didn't know. And that's where clear communication is ultra important. So how can you help? Support them. Support the project manager. We know that many of your clients don't have a marketing background, don't have a design background, don't have a creative background, and don't really understand marketing in terms of what type of content is relevant online. So you want to make sure that you help gather that information and give them some ideas, and maybe even show them some other websites on the internet that do some things really well that they can kind of brainstorm as it relates to their business. Now, ongoing, we want to make sure that they understand tech support, but also that they understand that they have other services available to them through digital marketing, right? So very similar to the design process, it's important to stay involved. So if you sold a digital marketing product, it's so important that the information is communicated, that they've signed their agreements for their digital marketing product, as well as completed required information in a web form. There's a web form that asks for information for all of our digital marketing products, whether it's search engine optimization, Google advertising, online reputation management, social media management, Facebook advertising, because our teams need to gather information for the client or from the client in order to have a great result. So it's important to have all of this information gathered and input correctly. So you want to make sure that you are a part of that process. If you'd like to see some of those forms, you can visit the site dmpservices.org, right? dmpservices.org is where you can find some of the information about the digital marketing products, but also the necessary feedback forms for each of those products. I also think that these are great forms and great questionnaires to help you in the process before even setting an appointment. And that's just a kind of an advanced tip. So the DMP forms look like this, right? It has a quick blurb about the type of product was purchased and then some information, right? What is the website URL? What is their full name? What's the physical address? Would they like their physical address to be displayed on their site? What's the business phone? Some information, some contact information is relevant, but also any comments or important business info are on these forms. Depending on if it's an advertising program, they might ask for competitors, right? What websites for your competitors are available? What market are you looking to penetrate? What are some keywords you're looking for? And all of that is listed right on these DMP forms. The service area, the industry, what is their current online representation? What are some special qualities and services that they provide? What are their specific goals that they have from their marketing, right? All of this content can go over to the project management team so we can make sure that we develop the best online marketing program for your client. It also asks demographic information about the customers. And again, like we said, about the competition. If we can gather some information about the competitors, it also helps us understand the market a little bit better. Then any legal considerations. Are there things that need to be considered? And your business culture. I love this. Each business has its own image, its own culture. To make sure we are accurately portraying your business, we need a few examples of the kinds of things you'd like posted for you. These can be anything from a calendar of upcoming events, a list of monthly specials, themes, images, really pretty much anything you'd like shared on your social media accounts. Please note we may need to touch base with you from time to time for updated items, and this would be for social media management. Of course, if there's any other information, pictures, content can be uploaded right here. You can see a little add files button. So incredible information that needs to be gathered before we can do our job with web centers for your client. However, what happens if this information is not gathered? Well, the client is waiting and they're paying a monthly fee and they're not getting a result. And then you're going to have a disgruntled client. And then we get some emails, phone calls of parties wondering what's going on with my advertising program, my marketing, right? So we want to make sure that we do our job as a web center owner and being the best possible account manager, right? So if we're going to be doing any social media management, we're also going to need access to their various social channels, right? Whichever one they want us to manage and maintain for them, they're going to have to enter their username and password or speak with our teams to give them access as an administrator on their page to post on their behalf. So what can you do is you need to make sure that you support your clients, right? How can you support your clients? How can you engage customer care? How can you share the resources? What types of resources? We've got our marketing manual. We've got our B2B services catalog. We've got tremendous videos on the YouTube channel. We have tremendous blog articles on blog.mawebcenters.com, all relevant to businesses. We also have other articles of information that you can share. Right? So you want to make sure that you become a part of their marketing team that is always supporting them in their endeavor. And then how do you stay in contact? Well, saying thank you is important. How about engaging them with MA Web Centers, doing their first call to tech support as a three-way conference call and tying all the parties in together, checking in with them occasionally and their organization, right? When you are organized and you can help their organization in any way possible, knowing their events that are coming up, wishing them well on future product releases, right? Be part of their culture. Now, what about being professional? How can we do that? Have you emailed them? Have you called them? Have you provided maybe a gift card? However you're comfortable thanking a new client, just make sure you do it, right? You want to make sure that they know that you are grateful for that relationship. And even a personal thank you. I think a handwritten note or a card is a wonderful display of gratitude. Thanking a client for their business. And then, of course, edifying tech support. If they need anything, they've got the teams in place to help them. And, of course, stay in touch. Now, we know challenges are going to happen, right? Some clients may have issues, and it does happen, right? So we have to identify what is the challenge. First thing is you need to identify who can you contact to connect them to the right person? Is there a department or is it a person? Is it a billing issue? Is it a design issue? Is it a technical issue? right? Is it something that might warrant checking in with the Market America side and MA at marketamerica.com, right? What should you do? Empathize, but don't draw any conclusions. There are always two sides to every story. In fact, there's probably three sides to every story, if that makes sense, right? Let them know that they've been heard, right? Let them know that you heard their concern and that you're going to look into it. You're going to have someone assist them as soon as possible. So don't agree with them, but just say, hey, I understand that there's a challenge. Let me look into that and find out who the best person is to connect you with so we can resolve your concern. So when passing along any challenge to be researched, it must be in writing, right? Or in an email, right? And that's usually how we get most questions, right? Just send an email to mawebcenters at marketamerica.com. In order to have the issue researched, we must have that communicated with various people that are required to help. So rather than just doing a voice message, a text message, a Facebook message, all communication, corporate communication, and this information must be sent in an email to mawebcenters at marketamerica.com so we can get the appropriate parties involved, and then there's a trail of communication back and forth so we can always check on the client, Web Centers, Market America, and the Web Center owner to make sure everyone is on the same page. So what happens if there wasn't a sale? Well, we've all heard it too many times. Fortune is in the follow-up, right? So if there wasn't a sale, it's important to have a clear follow-up strategy, right? And why is that important? How many contacts does it take to make a sale? Well, look at this. Incredible. Only 3% of sales are made on the second contact, right? Less than that on the first contact. So if you had your first contact with a client, would you be able to sell a website or digital marketing product? Well, only 2%. They've got to be looking and they've got to have that sense of urgency. Probably not going to be the typical scenario, right? 2% of sales are made on the first contact. 3% are made on the second contact. 5% are made on the third contact. 10%, we're getting better, of sales are made on the fourth contact. But look at this. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact, right? So are you doing your job following up with clients and candidates over time? It's going to take time. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be, you got to bother them. I'm not saying that you got to hound them. I'm not saying that you've got to stalk them. I'm just simply saying that you've got to be persistently persistent and consistently consistent to make sure that you're meeting them where they're at. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. But what's even more eye-opening is this. How many contacts do most salespeople make, right? 48%. Nearly half of salespeople never follow up. 25, a quarter of salespeople make a second contact and stop. And if we go back, second sale, only 3% of sales are made on the second contact, and 25% of salespeople do that. And look at this, 12% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. You can be unique, you can be different than all the other representatives out there for all these other companies that are trying to market to your candidate as well. You can be different just by establishing a long-term relationship simply by following up and staying in touch. Right? Now, if the product specialist is doing a follow-up on your behalf after a demo, make sure you communicate with the product specialist. Make sure you are on the same page so you don't confuse the prospect so they know who's the appropriate person to be following up with. And then you can also use a notification system in your Web Center back office. But it's critical that if you're going to be following up to let the product specialist know that you're following up as well. And then as months go by, they might actually reach out to you and ask you if you followed up because they would like to do a follow-up communication as well. Everything can be cleared up with communication, so it's important that you have all parties on the same page. So staying organized is critical to your success. Schedule your follow-up calls just like you have an appointment. If a client says, can you follow up with me in a month? Put it in your calendar on a day about a month out that you are going to follow up with them. Right? Write it in your calendar as a scheduled appointment so that you know on Thursday, May 1st, I don't even know if that is May 1st, at 12 p.m., you are going to contact this candidate to follow up because they asked you to, right? Pick logical times, right? Follow up with your prospects. Make sure that you have their schedule in mind. Don't call a restaurant owner on a Friday night at 7 p.m., right? If it's maybe a salon or spa, they may or may not be open on a Monday, so you might get their voicemail, or maybe that's their day that they do administration, so you can ask them, what is the best day for me to contact you where you might not be busy with a client? Are Mondays good for you, right? that might be a perfect time. So ask their permission of when the best day and best time for them to receive a follow-up in the future. Be persistent but not pushy. We said that. Respect their timing. Respect their timing, right? Realize that their schedule has its own priorities, and you probably are not one of them, right? Ask for their preferred time for you to call and ask how far out they would like to look at this. They might say, this sounds great, but right now we've got a big project. We're looking for someone maybe to take this over in June or July. Contact us then. If they say June or July, you best be contacting them in June, because if they're telling other people, contact me in June or July, and you reach out in July, you might get the unfortunate news that someone contacted them to follow up with digital marketing in June and they won the business, right? So make sure that you are persistently persistent and that you are organized. Most importantly here, be specific about what you're following up about. If you had been talking to them about social media management, make sure that they know I will reach out to you in 3 months to talk to you about your social media. You have time to do a little bit more research before you contact them for the follow-up to see how things are going. But when you contact them, say, hey, I wanted to make sure that I followed up with you about your social media management. We spoke a couple months ago. Can we revisit that conversation, right? The more specific you are, it reminds them what the initial conversations were. So some basics about follow-up. Be proactive, right? The more proactive you are, the less follow-up is actually needed, right? So when we talk about setting quality appointments, right? People that have a need for your solution. Use the 15-minute consultations to identify that problems or inconveniences that they're facing. Encourage to write questions in advance. If they have some questions, have them write those down in advance so that you can appropriately answer them when they come up and they don't forget. All decisions are there, right? Making sure that in the initial appointment, all decision makers are there, because if they ask you to follow up and then they have another decision maker present, it's almost like a first appointment because the other person at the follow-up didn't hear it the first time, right? So you want to make sure that you get all the influencers, all the decision makers on the initial demonstration appointments or even in your initial consultations, because then you have everyone on the same page. You don't have your candidate trying to relay information to someone else for them to make judgment on their own. And of course, you always want to stay organized. Now, specificity. Where are they in the process? Are they just gathering information? Are they researching? Do they have a sense of urgency? Are they looking for a solution now? What is the next step? Is it a demonstration? Is it a follow-up to answer questions? Is it to get paperwork signed? Is it to do the design wizard? What do they need, right? That is how you can become the best customer manager, is identifying what they may need. Who's handling the follow-up? You are product specialists. And of course, create that urgency. A great way to help create urgency is, rather than asking when or are you available, if you change that language to how soon can we meet, or how soon can we have a call, or how soon can I get you on with a product specialist? Just that verbiage, how soon, helps create that sense of urgency, and it helps you identify how serious that candidate really is. Now, you want to use all of the tools and resources available to help you build a better case and to build that value in the relationship, certainly as you're following up. So there are tons of great places to get shareable content, right? You can share the content in email, in conversations, on social media, through a blog, but all of that content is useless without you. Right? These tools are meant to give you an opportunity to get the conversation started. They're meant to give you some value that you can provide these candidates and clients. They're there to support an effective follow-up for you, the WebCenter owner. They're really meant to be an extension of you. That's part of the standardization and the system that we have. We've got the marketing tools and support that we can provide you to take those tools and grow your business. Now, you still need to ask the questions, you still need to qualify your prospects, and you're the one who needs to set qualified appointments, but you have armed yourself with the tools, the training, the education, and the resources to go out there and succeed. So for week 5, we want you to review your candidate list. Take a look at that candidate list that you've started on week 1. Identify those candidates and prospects that you need to follow up with. Maybe it was a simple conversation. Maybe they already had a demo appointment. Maybe they were considering a demo appointment, but it wasn't time yet. Maybe they're considered a consultation appointment. So, are you leveraging the tools and resources to help you? You simply want to review your goals and adjust to the timeline, right? We've already completed 4 weeks. Are you on track to achieving your goals? Are you halfway there? Or are you just starting over? And that's okay. You want to readjust and set goals and action plan for the next 4 weeks. Take this in small chunks, right? Each 4 weeks, measure, monitor, and adjust and control. Either push out your timeline or adjust your activity to increase or decrease whether or not you're close to achieving your goals. You see, you can succeed with any division in Market America. It all comes down to your attitude, your activity, and your skill. But the last component that usually falls into play is accountability. I suggest that you hold yourself accountable with someone else on your team, a senior partner, a cross-line partner, or simply another WebCenter owner that you can check in with on a weekly basis to keep each other on track and encourage. So, week 5, here we go. Many weeks to go. You're just getting started, but we gave you the foundations for success. And in future trainings, we're going to be talking about more specifics in terms of how to conduct your own walkthroughs, how to conduct your own demonstrations, a little bit more about the technology, best practices with website design and digital marketing, and even some industry-specific recommendations as we move through the next couple of weeks. So I want to thank you for joining us for week 5, and we'll open up the line for some Q&A at this time.